and good morning to everyone. Welcome to
Akashic Resources podcast number 10, where we practice all day to bring you this live.
Yes, welcome to episode 10. Today's topic is how to make your New Year's resolutions a reality. And here at Akashic Resources, we are dedicated
to aiding you to use your whole mind more productively to be happier, healthier, and more successful. So today we're talking about
working on being more professional.
Sure, with podcasts in particular.
With podcasts. So if you're like a lot of people, the new year, naturally, I think you're completing a year, and of course it's not it's still winter, but it's still like when you're in the middle of winter. However, you're completing a year and you're saying, yeah, what am I going to do next year? When the year comes, what am I going to do? And so naturally you start to think about some of the things you want to do, some of the things you want to experience in yourself, in your life. I know for Brian and I, we've been experiencing that on all levels. We want to work on our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, our relationship,
prosperity and abundance,
travel, our home, our children. We just feel inspired to go, okay, like, how can we be more fulfilled? How can we accelerate our growth and experience? Because what's the point of life is to be fulfilled, to be happy. And so that requires creating the life you desire. So as we've been talking about it, we thought, oh, it'd be a great topic of discussion for you guys.
Right. Yeah. This time of year in particular, we call those goals and those desires New Year's resolutions. And I changed, I don't know, like 25 years ago, I stopped using the word New Year's resolutions and I would put goals for the year. So I'm a Capricorn with an MBA and my Dharma is fulfillment. And I just love the word goal. So I would clarify very, very clearly all these lists of goals in the various areas of my life. And that's the way I approach it.
And actually last night I was thinking about it, that I don't want to call it goals or resolutions. I'm calling it commitments to myself.
Ooh, I like that.
Because I just feel like that's, at the end of the day, I want to feel good with what I want to experience in my life and inside of myself. So instead of it being something that, I don't know, sometimes I feel like a goal in my mind, because I'm not a Capricorn. I think of it something more external or physical. But if I say it's like, I'm committing to myself, I'm committing to my health more, or committing to my relationship more, or going deeper into my commitments and really being in integrity with myself.
Yeah, and I like the word commitment because, so I looked up, I love words. I was an English major for a little while. And I like to take apart words and try to understand more, actually, what am I saying? So New Year's resolution. So the word resolve means, I'll look it up here exactly. It means to, where's it at? It is to decide firmly on a course of action. And that's kind of what you were saying with commitment.
That actually, can we just dive into that just a little bit?
Well, let me say one thing. So what happens, I looked up, I want to see how successful are people with their New Year's resolutions. So only 9% of Americans will say that they're successful with their New Year's resolutions, but it gets worse than that. That's a 9% success rate, but only 38.5% of Americans actually make New Year's resolutions, which leaves us at 3.5% success rate for Americans. So that is just incredible to me. Incredible.
It's a low number. Yeah. And not to psychoanalyze that. However, it kind of goes back to what you were saying, the definition of resolve is decide firmly on a course of action. Commitment is the same thing. I'm committed to this.
Right.
And I think that, I know, at least for me, one of the things I'm committed to really accepting myself and loving myself this year. And there's certain things that I've found I need to do to accept myself. It's just like, I know that instead of externalizing it, it's, so when I think about that, then it's not something that I think I should be doing, or other people want me to do, or everyone is resolving to be healthier, so I'll just jump on the bandwagon. I think sometimes those resolutions come from maybe I'm, like I said, psychoanalyzing it, but they're coming more, we're not going deep enough with the purpose. Like, what is the purpose of this resolution? Why do I want this? Why is
that's a whole nother podcast?
It is
purpose, alignment with higher self.
I think we should do that.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
At times when we're not successful in anything, And it's okay not to be successful because you're always learning, like we've talked about, it's all neutral. But when we don't let's say we say, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to work out every day. And then 6 months later, you don't do it. You're like, how, why can't I do this? There's something deeper going on that we can understand and really resolve in ourselves, which is what resolution is. And I think I've been rereading the book, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. It's a really great book. And it's all about, obviously, love. And one of the lines that really stuck out to me is she says, only love is real. God is not the author of fear, you are. And then the introduction, because the book is based on the Course in Miracles, the introduction is, the Course can be summed up very simply. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. What that means is, love is real. It's eternal creation and nothing can destroy it. Anything that isn't love is an illusion. Remember this and you will be at peace.
Yeah, a lot of our readings touch on that. We had some deep conversations with some people over the holidays, and that was one of the topics, was that when you boil it all down, it's only love. So that's some really, really good, deep stuff. Today, we're going to focus on a few things that can help you to make your New Year's resolutions more successful, to help you make your goals, your desires, your dreams come true. And the number one thing that you can do is write it down. Write it down. When you write it down, it becomes real. When you write it down, it comes out of your head and it goes onto paper. And then you can look at it, you can read it, and then other people can see it. So what I would do with my goals, what a lot of people do, is they would put that up on the wall. And then people would walk in and say,
forget about it.
Whoa, hang on, look at that. Oh, that's really cool. You did that. How you doing with that number 3? And then now there's an accountability factor.
That's a good point. I don't know if I've ever written down.
Oh, yeah.
I've written down financial goals and I've completed those, but I've never really written down something like, I will work out every other day or something like that.
Yeah. I'm big on writing things down. I learned that a long time ago.
Maybe not write it in a notebook that can be hidden, but you're saying like, get a big piece of poster board and
there's
just
levels,
write it out.
Writing it down, period, is going to be helpful. But if you write that down and post it, so that's what I did with my goals for the year. And I did that for, I don't know, probably 15 years. And I would post it right on the wall in the kitchen. And a lot of people would look at that and they'd say, whoa, that's crazy. And I had things like, back then I was big into biking. So I would say, ride over 1,000 miles on my bike, which was real easy. Catch 1,000 fish. Those were 2 things I remember quite clearly. But there was always things about health. There was things about finance. There was things about diet. There were things about relationships and I had these categories and hobbies and fun and travel, go on vacation. I just had all these goals and these different, you can kind of say the wheel of life, or the different pies or sections, categories like that. So writing it down is crucial. First step.
So question for you is, why did you keep going? Like, what helped you to write it down and actually, because I'm assuming you fulfilled these goals.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Okay, so what do you
not
think
everything, but
so what was the reason that you wanted to catch, what'd you say, 1,000 fish?
Yeah.
That's a lot of fish. I have not caught one fish before.
Yeah, for some people.
So 1,000 fish, like, why did you want that?
Well,
did you know why, or?
Because it's a lot of fun, and that was part of fun, but that also meant it tied in with the traveling. It tied in with, having fun, vacations, canoeing, getting out to the lake, getting out to the river, being in nature. And so if I did that, I fulfilled actually several other things in the process.
And how did you feel once you knew, oh, I caught 1,000 fish?
Oh, I love completion. Like I said, my dharma is fulfillment. So there's nothing I like better than checking it off the list and saying, I did it. And then does
that help you feel good about yourself?
It does. It builds trust in yourself. So that's probably another podcast. But here's the thing: when you set a goal and you fulfill it, then you build trust in yourself, and then that trust, you begin to really have that to say, I'm going to do this. And there's no doubt in your mind. You just say, okay, I'm going to do it. And then you do it.
And I want to go deeper into that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because that's some of the places that I've, just to be transparent with everyone, one of my biggest life challenges has been self-acceptance. And this year, actually last night, I said, I am committed that this year, obviously we're not going to be perfect because I'm not enlightened, but I'm committed that this year I will experience a higher percentage of self-acceptance. And it was one of the first times in my life where it was like, I'm going to do this.
Hmm.
And I think that there's an element of concentration that goes into that, where you say, this will happen.
Mhm.
You know, they say, what is the saying? Say it and it is so.
Oh, yeah.
Or there's other sayings
Yeah,
like that. Ask
Yeah.
and you shall receive.
It's I
It's
think
the
it's
same thing.
it's intention, and there's also what I'm hearing is
There's like a
commitment.
clarity.
And I will say you've made progress over the
For sure,
years in
of
this
course.
area. However, she's committed to making
A deeper.
right. And that's part of that commitment. So,
Mhm.
and that comes into number two. The number two is that resolve. So decide firmly on a course of action. What will you do? What are you committed to doing? And Einstein, in a variety of his quotes, basically said, if you want something different, you have to do something different. And that's that action. What am I willing to do? What can I take action? But below the doing something different, it all starts with thinking something different. So a basic tenet of metaphysics is
Thought is cause.
yeah, thought is cause.
Your thoughts create your life.
Exactly.
And the emotions that you feel connected to those thoughts give you, I think, where the honesty comes in. Because I think to be able to do something different, you kind of have to be honest with where you are.
Exactly.
And I'll give an example just for myself. So last year I resolved that I'm going to be healthier, I'm going to get into better shape, and I'm going to lose some weight, which I evaluated that at the end of this year, and I recognized that what I was able to do is maintain my weight. I did do yoga for like 7 weeks in a row, which was great. And then I hurt my back and all those things. And I had to really be honest about how I felt about that, which I felt a little bit of grief, a little bit of anger. And instead of overriding it or blaming someone and saying, well, it's because I have kids, or it's because I've worked full time. That's deflection. I really just had to feel what was there and then experience that, and then come to go, okay, yes, the facts are, these are the things I did that worked, and these are some things I'm doing that aren't working. Like I'm eating more than I should be, and those are just the facts. And so when I put the facts down, then I created a plan around it. But if I wasn't honest, I would just be in my head and stuck, blaming the environment or blaming just everything else outside of myself, and then really just having the same result next year. Would you agree that honesty is an important key?
It's critical, that honesty. And I love what you brought up there. So evaluating, so at the end of the year, it's a good time to evaluate your actions. What did I do last year? And what did that produce? What did that cause? And then there's a deeper level, and that's evaluating your thoughts. And that's number three, is become aware of your thoughts, because your thoughts are going to create those actions. Your thoughts create your beliefs, your attitudes, all of that stuff. So again, I love science. I love research. I like the blending of fact with metaphysical, universal principles, and putting it all together, even with spirituality and religion and holy books, blending it all together into one unified thing that helps us to move forward and be successful. So scientists say we have, at a minimum, 12,000 thoughts per day. Now, if you're like me and most people, you're not 100% aware of every 12,000 thoughts that you have. And again, the research shows that a large number of these thoughts are repetitive, sometimes up to 90% are repetitive. And for most people, a lot of these thoughts, way over 50%, up in the 70, 80% range, are negative. And we probably know people that are peaking up there in the 90% with negative thoughts. So when you've got negative, repetitive thoughts, what is that? That's the worst affirmation in the world. And if you're unconscious of that negative affirmation that you're repeating to yourself every day, you are what we call an unconscious creator. So as we become more and more aware of our thoughts, as we lower that percentage of unconsciousness, we become conscious creators. So that's where positive affirmations come in. That's where being in the present moment and evaluating that honesty that you brought up. honestly evaluating our thoughts moment to moment. And one of the practices I did when I first started this process 16 years ago is I would just call out myself out loud wherever I was. I'd be in the grocery store, and when I would catch myself saying something that wasn't true, I would be, that's a lie. That's not true. And I would just blast it out there. And you can imagine in produce what that does when you yell out loud like that. But it was very effective in stopping myself
Yeah.
from these thoughts.
And I'd like to just
Sure,
say a few things to that. So I think that, and I think this is where you and I might have a little bit of a disagreement, but you know, it's okay.
Wouldn't be the first
It
time.
wouldn't be the first time, for sure. However, as an example, I had a friend reach out to me recently and said that this friend was saying that he or she did not feel as if they were a creator, that they didn't feel that they were a good creator, or they were able to create. And it's interesting because knowing this person, the first thought that comes to mind when I think about this person's name is, this person's a creator. And so this person asked me, can you give me some feedback? Is there a mantra I can say? And when I really reflected on it, I didn't feel like the mantra would be helpful without having this person really connect with what they feel about that. How do they feel? Why do they feel that? Where is this coming from? What belief system is this coming from? And sometimes I think if we just try to change the upper level thought, the parent thought, the main thought, but not necessarily that the inner child thoughts that have produced that, it doesn't make a change, because it's kind of like just pulling the weed out. When you can feel, well, when I was a kid, I was 5 years old, and I did this beautiful art project as an example, and my mom thought it was ugly. Then I believed in that moment that I'm not a creator. And since then I've been creating, but I don't feel like I'm a creator. So if she just says I'm a creator all day long, it might not change. But if she or he can get back to that root thought.
Well, yeah, I don't think we disagree. That's exactly what I said.
You
Is that
agree.
so when you tap into that root thought and you realize that you have this deep-seated thought that was created by your mother. So the thoughts in your head are not always your own thoughts. You receive the thoughts of your parents, you receive the thoughts of your teachers. And part of my process was exactly that, is during this process of becoming more aware of my thoughts and recognizing them as lies, I heard my dad's voice. I heard the voice of a teacher that hated me in second grade. I don't know why, but she just did. So I literally brought those thoughts to the surface and then pulled that weed out. So that's exactly what I'm saying, is you can say a positive affirmation 10 times a day. But if you have a negative affirmation that you've been repeating for decades, 100 times a day, and you're not aware of it, that positive affirmation is going to go nowhere. So we don't disagree at all.
So question, did you feel an emotion when you went back to that time where there was a teacher that hated you? And did you process that emotion?
Right, that's part of the process. Yeah.
Okay.
So that, again, that's another podcast potentially. However, you've got to become conscious of your thoughts, period. So if you're not, so you could start either way. You could have the thought, and then when that thought comes to the surface, you're going to feel that feeling. Or you could be in that feeling and then search for the thought. So your thoughts create feelings. Emotions do not create thoughts for the most part. The thought is cause. Emotions are not cause. Energy is not cause. Thought is cause. So when you start at the top, a thought can produce a miracle. A placebo is a thought. I have been given a powerful medication that will heal me. That thought heals you, right? So yeah, it's a good thing there. Connect with your emotions. Don't bypass your emotions. You can't. You're not going to get rid of the thought unless you process the emotion, for sure. So we've got a new class coming up. We do this every year at the beginning of the year. It's Creative Mind and Manifestation. And we explore some of these topics of how can we create the life that we desire? And we start looking at these things that we're talking about, and how can we put this into practice to make our lives better, to be happier, healthier, and more successful.
Yeah, because what we believe and have understood is it's not just as simple as, okay, I want to manifest something, so I'll think about it and I'll feel good about it, and then here it goes, there's a manifestation. There's all these things that go on. It's scientific, there's a process, there's all these things you can do. Now, is it true that some people manifest a lot of things without really consciously going through those steps? For sure, because there's understandings we have, there's lots of things that play into it. However, to be a conscious creator and a weight creator and a mental creator, you can use these skills and these tools. And for us, there's things that we manifest that we just do. It just comes. Like, for example, the piano situation, where we ended up getting a piano and a harmonium and a ukulele in like 3 weeks. You know, we just put it out there and it happened. We didn't go through all the intricacies, but there's other really big desires that we have that might need a little bit more attention, or sometimes you might want to notice if there's something you've really wanted for a long time and it's just not happening. Don't know why. Maybe it's a relationship or a job or whatever it is. Going through more of a scientific process with a group of people in a healing environment where it's an intentional environment for co-creation, then you end up being successful because you have not only the experience of us helping you, but you have the actual process, and then you have other people creating this kind of quantum field together, and co-creation can happen.
Yeah.
Even if you're not creating the same things, you're helping each other. So the course it's 5 weeks.
5-week
It's a
online
5 week.
course starting January 18th. You get a creative mind reading, which is the first specialty reading that I got about, probably 15 years ago. And it looks at how your conscious and subconscious minds work together in this creative process. And again, the more that we understand about ourselves, the more successful we're going to be in everything that we do.
Yeah, I think the one thing to just say about that is, one thing I learned like 10 years ago, I was doing this big event for New Year's for the School of Metaphysics, and I was just so focused on the numbers of people coming. It was for New Year's and stuff. And I remember realizing it's not even about that. And it was just the freeing experience of going, it's not about the manifestation of the event, it's who I'm becoming in the process and what I'm adding to myself. And I think that just changes everything. All these resolutions. Let's say you write these down and nothing happens next year physically, but you change and you grow, you're successful. And you're more fulfilled because you tried. You put forth that effort and you learned something.
Yeah.
So I think,
great opportunity here to have 2024 be the best year for you yet. And
on all levels.
Take action, resolve yourself to a determined action to create something different, and then look at the possibilities. This is a way that you can learn about yourself and help yourself to manifest more successfully. One thing I'd like to say real quick,
and then I have one thing.
We just keep feeding each other. So when you were talking about that purpose thing, and you said some people just manifest, and they're not in tune with all this stuff. Well, I'm one of those people. So at age 43, I had like 12 houses, had a boat, car, motorcycle.
And you weren't going through a scientific process.
I didn't know anything about purpose. I didn't know anything about ideal. I went through my process of making it happen, and physically, I was very successful. However, I was also miserable. Why? Because they were hollow. It was only the physical creation. I was not learning and growing inside myself as much as I could when I added purpose and ideal and intention, and when I saw my creations as a vehicle for my own growth. And that was the missing piece of the puzzle. So a lot of times people that are physically able to manifest, sometimes that doesn't produce the fulfillment, doesn't produce the happiness, the soul growth, the contentment. And that's where I was. I was actually miserable when I was the richest I ever was at age 43. So
yeah. And the thing that's really a great realization to have. And one thing that I just want to say to everyone is that you're worthy of not feeling miserable, basically. And of course, it's okay to feel miserable because sometimes we do, and that's part of life. You're not going to go through life always being completely happy all the time. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to experience everything.
Because that's bringing your attention to something that needs to be
addressed. You needed to go through that cycle and have that experience and then be miserable so that you could know what it's like. If you didn't manifest those things, you wouldn't have gotten to the point of realizing, oh.
Right. And it
Maybe
and it
you
took
would have,
that.
but
It
you
took
might,
that, yeah.
sometimes you can have all the information in front of you and you don't really receive it until you go through the life's experience
Right,
that
right,
gets
right.
you to be there. For me, I remember once I went to Millennium Through Education and I had this awakening of, oh, my thoughts create my life. And I was 24 years old and I was just so finally feeling like, oh, I'm not terrible or whatever the thoughts were. I remember hanging out with a few people from that group and there was all these books on his shelf on self-love and all these things. And I thought, wow, these resources have been here all these years. I could have just gone to the bookstore and maybe like read one of these books. How come I never did? Well, why didn't I? Because I needed all those other experiences to keep me even open to that idea. And so, and I know we're going on, but I just want to say, like, whether you take this class or you get a reading or whatever, what I want to just tell you and remind you is that you're worthy. You're worthy of a fulfilling life. You're worthy of a life that you feel is yours,
Yep,
you know,
yep. And you're capable. You're
capable
capable
of it. Yeah.
of thinking a new thought. You're capable of taking a new action, and you're capable to make this happen. And we've seen it over and
Everyone
over.
does. There's not one person that has like the I don't know, the golden ticket. We all have, God has given us love and creative force and creative energy to create. That's what we've come here to do. So go out there and go through these steps and set your resolutions and reach out if you have any questions as well.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. And we want you to have the best year yet. 2024 be your best year. We want all your dreams and desires to come true. So if we can help you, please reach out to us. Thanks. Have a great day.